Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have you here for this session on Azure Migrate and Modernize. My name is Michael Ambua, an Azure State Specialist here at Cloud Productivity Solution. I will be giving you an overview of what to expect on this session. Today, webinar will focus on cloud adoption and business transformation using Microsoft Azure. We will also enlighten how Microsoft Azure helps organizations lower cost, improve resilience, and drive innovation. By the end of this session, you will have a clarity on cloud adoption strategy, Azure Migrate, and best practice for success cloud journey. At Cloud Productivity Solution, we bring deep expertise in Microsoft technology with competencies that enables end-to-end solution. We help business turn data into insight through analytics and AI, build secure and scalable infrastructure on-prem or in the cloud, and create modern cloud-native apps with Azure while modernizing legacy system and accelerating delivery using DevOps. These strengths allow us to guide you seamlessly through your every step of your migration and modernization journey. First, let's understand why now is the time to move to cloud. The business landscape is evolving rapidly, and cloud adoption is no longer an option. It is becoming a strategic necessity for agility, scalability, and cost optimization. With all that, now let's get started. I will now hand over to one of our speakers of the day, Peter Ngesa, who will take us deeper into the business cases for cloud adoption journey and steps to make your migration successful.
All right. Thank you for that, Michael. Okay. Azure Migrate and modernization. So before we do a deep dive, let me just adjust these slides. All right, fantastic. So before we do a deep dive in terms of the Azure Migrate, I guess we should all align ourselves with one singular truth that we are all experiencing. That is, technology and the world of IT is not slowing down for anyone. You find that the technology cycles are actually shrinking very fast. The customer expectations that you're dealing with are always rising, and there's also that economic pressure that is pushing every organization to do more with less. We do more with the limited resources that you have. And in the middle of all this, there's one strategic lever that consistently delivers like cost efficiency, resilience, and innovation. That is the cloud. So what I'm going to take you guys through today is just a deep dive in terms of the cloud journey and to understand the major forces in terms of cloud adoption. So the three major forces that I wanted to highlight today for you for this discussion was first of all is the cost pressure and economic uncertainty. So this is actually something quite important, and most discussions usually start there. That is the money, like the finances. You find like the CIO, the CFO is asking like pressure and economic uncertainty. So this is actually something quite important, and most discussions usually start there. That is the money, like the finances. You find like the CIO, the CFO is asking like very important questions like how do we reduce operational costs without slowing down the business? You want the efficiency to be high, but also keeping a close eye in terms of your finances on a day-to-day. So if you have a look at the traditional on-prem infrastructure, that is the CapEx model, it is actually quite how can I say it, expensive in the upfront cost of it all. That is, you have to buy the hardware upfront, you have to maintain it, you have to patch it, you have to cater for the electricity, and eventually, after using it for a while, you will have to replace it as well. It's like owning your own vehicle. You can actually spec it how you want. You pay for the fuel, you pay for the insurance, services, even as low as parking as well for your vehicle on a day-to-day basis. But this cost will hit you whether you're actually using it or not. But when you're looking at the model of the cloud technology, that is Azure, it flips this model completely. So instead of, with the same analogy of buying the car, you can just pay for the rides that you actually take. This is what we try to picture in terms of the OPEX model, the operational expenses, whereby you are just paying for what you use and you get a more predictable and optimized and let's say more flexible, like a way of running your IT environment. So in a very broad nutshell, Azure actually helps the different organizations avoid the huge upfront infrastructure investment that comes with the CapEx. You just get to pay for what you get to use on a day-to-day. And also the resources that you use, you can just scale them up or down automatically, depending on the various season, the various usage, and the various needs that you may come across. And also, you can always optimize cost with the team that you're working with just to get the level of output that is expected. So the long story short, in terms of the cost, pressure, and flexibility, the cloud is actually quite dynamic and actually quite fluid in this respect, and offers you like a variety and a different way to approach the whole aspect of your finances and money. Next is about the security and resilience. So security is actually quite important, I think, as you all know, because at this point where we are in the climate that you are, the times that you are in, security is no longer like something like the technical team or the IT team is having conversation about. It cuts across the entire organization, even as high as the boardroom or the everyday user. So we live in a world with, how can I say, like evolving threats. We have these threats like the ransomwares, breaches, insider threats, and the whole space of cybersecurity. It's an advancing field that has quite dynamic ways of getting like compromises in terms of the threat. But the Azure approach is actually quite simple in the respect that the security is inbuilt. It's inbuilt inside the platform from the ground up. The way it is designed, it is designed to take advantage of the security features that are inbuilt into the system. It's not something that is bolted upon. So the main key features of security that you can look at is something like the zero trust architecture, the multi-geo redundancy, and the automated threat detection, whereby you can get to use AI to assist you in terms of the security of your infrastructure. So with the on-premise approach, you are only as secure as, say, the latest updates that you're doing with your current environment. So if you're behind in terms of the patches, the licensing, you will be kind of compromised. But with the Azure aspect of it, security, you get the patching is done automatically. The backups are automated, and also you can also get a feature of disaster recovery. So there's a huge difference when you're having like the security 24/7 and you can access it anytime vis-a-vis the method of employing like other security solutions that sometimes can go out of service. And the last key driving force that I wanted to look at is in terms of the innovation and demand. So this is our final driver in regards to cloud adoption. So innovation at this point is just basically like adapting new technologies that are coming to the market. These technologies can include things like AI, machine learning, predictive analysis, real-time data processing, and intelligent automation. So these aren't possibilities that you can actually run natively with your traditional on-prem infrastructure. So with the tools that Azure can give you, you get to do innovation at rapid speeds. It's the method of fail fast and you learn faster. So you can deploy apps very fast, and also you can take advantage of AI tools to power the different applications and also unify your data and get some in-depth insights consistently. So cloud, all in all, is not just about saving costs or just moving to the cloud for the sake of it. It's basically about unlocking the very latent business potential that your organization can have in regards that maybe that the on-prem cannot really give you on a very native way. It's something that you have to strive for. So in a very broad nutshell, just to summarize, the key forces that we're looking at here today is reducing your costs, increasing your performance, and also optimizing your security as well, and improving your productivity as well in regards to your developments, and also building this culture of resiliency in regards to backups and disaster recovery inbuilt into the platform. So long story short of it all, just something you need to understand that the cloud isn't like something, it's not like, it's not the future, basically, it's like the present. And the organizations that actually get to adapt with it fast, get to win and get to innovate faster and move faster with the pace that the market is going with. So those are the key driving forces that I wanted to touch upon. And then next is in terms of the key business outcomes and deliverables. So I think I've already mentioned some of this. I'll just keep it for now. What I've just explained right now is why the cloud is actually quite important. Those are key points in terms of cost, productivity, security, etc. Those are why the cloud and why it might actually be useful to you. And the key question that you usually get when you're dealing with the clients on a day-to-day basis is, how can we actually get there? Okay, this cloud might be a good thing for my organization, but what are the steps? What is the starting point? How can I actually achieve these particular things that you're talking about, like adoption, AI, and innovation on a very broad nutshell? So these were like we have the discussion in terms of the Azure Migrate. So the Azure Migrate comes in regards to like actually giving you a way to, it's like giving you like a roadmap, like a map. Think of it like creating a path for you in your cloud migration journey. So it's like giving you like it gives you like a starting point and a bearing in regards to the cloud journey. So in a very broad nutshell, the Azure Migrate tool discovers where you are. You can be at the very start, you can be somewhere in between, or maybe you're already a fully developed environment. But the Azure Migrate tools discovers where you are, calculates your best route, and also checks in terms of the various options that are available to you in terms of your cloud journey. So the key things that we need to look at here are in terms of the Azure migration itself. It's just simplifying your whole migration journey, because migration in a very broad nutshell, it can actually be quite messy. And if you've actually joined any organization, or you've been there, like you are quite new to an organization, say, for example, you're not fully familiar with all the intricacies or all the configurations that are there. You find a system, it's already working, and maybe there's some background information that you're not fully aware of. So when you are planning your future goals and your future migrations, is where the Azure Migrate can actually come, because it can grant you a level of 360 visibility and also accuracy in terms of your environment, and also give you like a level of predictability. So basically, the the tool in itself gives you all these tools that basically makes your cloud journey a bit easy. Just to sum it up all, it gives you like the discovery, analysis, and also maps your dependencies, how everything is configured, and also gives you like an estimation in terms of predicting how like your environment can be set up in the future if you decide to do the cloud migration. So the key capabilities or the key features that the Azure Migrate tools offers to you as an organization that you're looking to do some level of cloud adoption. So the Azure Migrate automatically like discovers every server, every VM, every database, every application that is running in the environment, and also the dependencies of the different workloads that are running. So it eliminates the guesswork and removes all this manual documentation that you may need in terms of the mapping. So it's like a way just to give you like a guiding stone and a way to give you like a way to do the discovery and to do an analysis of what you're currently running. The second aspect of it is the assessment. We call it discovery and assessment, but just going to explain them on individual level. So in the assessment aspect of it, once the Azure Migrate has actually done the discovery of your environment, it runs a deep assessment whereby it can give you some performance analysis. It gives you like capability checks or OS readiness, that is the state of your OS in terms of the cloud migration, the cloud moving, the disk type requirements, and also your storage. How big is your storage? How is it being utilized, etc. So it tells you which exact workloads are cloud ready and which one needs some level of tuning, and what are the right SKUs that you can adopt if you're doing the cloud adoption. Then thirdly is in terms of the dependency mapping. This is actually something very important and actually quite critical, because once you've done the Azure assessment, basically if you've ever done a level of migration or migrating a server to the cloud, you can realize you've migrated one server, then another server is actually broken down because maybe the mapping was not done correctly, or maybe you discovered you've broken an application accidentally because there was a level of dependency with different applications. So it's actually quite normal, but it's a thing and it's a risk that you can actually be exposed to if you're looking to do some cloud adoption. So the Azure Migrate tool gives you like a clear diagram of all the application interactions. So this helps you plan your migration waves intelligently. So you know your starting point, you know your end point, and everything in between, just to help you and guide you. And beyond that, you get this thing called the performance and capability. It analyzes your performance and checks the capability to ensure smooth migration. So I mentioned this a bit, but basically it's in regards to right sizing your resources. So most organizations, because of the CapEx nature of the setup, usually over provision your servers. That is to compensate for the very high requirements that may be there in terms of the high season. So Azure Migrate uses actual performance counters to track the usage of like, say, your CPU, your RAM, your disk, your network. Just it tracks the usage just to determine the right size that you can actually adopt for these particular resources in the cloud. So long story short, what that means is you no longer need to pay for oversized VMs. Like the VMs don't need to be too big. You can just get exactly what works for you. That is the right sizing of the resources. You buy exactly what you need, and you also avoid wasting your budget directly. So this directly translates to like a cost saving for your business. So the right sizing that the Azure Migrate tool can give you can also guide you and give you like a good point in terms of analyzing your finances as well. And also for the cost optimization as well, because there are some resources that can give you in terms of giving you an overview in regards to your monthly estimates and also the reserved instances and also the hybrid benefits. If you already have some licenses purchased on-prem, then you want to utilize them in the cloud. It can also map these particular cost benefits that you can get of utilizing the same licenses that you've already bought in the cloud environment. That is part and parcel of the Azure hybrid benefit relationship that is there. Lastly is the modernization part. So this whole term modernization is basically like trying to bring your current technology to the technology that you're using to the current point where the technology is at. So what you can get from this Azure Migrate tool is not just about lift and shift. It doesn't just have to be what I'm currently running. I directly translate it to the cloud. There's a world or there's an avenue whereby you can also do some modernization, that is some advancements and some improvements of what you're currently running. So for example, maybe you're running some SQL servers, and in the cloud, you can do some level of modernization whereby you can adopt Azure SQL as a managed instance, for example. So such kind of innovation or modernization features can be put into perspective once the Azure Migrate tool has actually run and has given you like an insight in regards to these particular tools and how they'll be running in the cloud. Nextly, I wanted to have a quick look in terms of the migration strategies and also some key real-world examples in terms of the cloud migration in itself. So now that we've had like a broad understanding in regards to why cloud adoption is accelerating and how Azure Migrate gives us a level of clarity in regards to the whole cloud migration journey, I wanted like just to have a brief talk in terms of the actual strategies that you can use in terms of moving the workloads, because the cloud migration journey is not a one size fits all. Every system is different, every application is different, and also the business requirements are actually quite different. So the secret is actually choosing the right migration strategy for the right workload, and also to align with actually your particular objectives that you're trying to achieve. So in this respect, Microsoft has created some, how can I say this? The 5 R's of cloud migration, whereby just a way of giving you like a strategy in terms of the cloud migration journey. These are the 5 R's of cloud migration, and I'll just take you through some of them. So the first one is rehosting strategy, which what it basically means is you move the workload as is, exactly as is, from on-prem to Azure. So this is actually the fastest, and dare I say the simplest in terms of the cloud migration path. So if you want speed and you want minimal change and also a reduced risk, this is actually a strategy. This is exactly what you're looking for, because we take your existing servers and we rehost them directly onto the Azure virtual machines with very minimal modifications. So when you're looking at this aspect of rehosting, the main benefits that you actually get as an organization, you get fast time to value, you get minimal engineering effort, you also get some ideal end of life hardware solution, and also it is also quite perfect if you're looking for some DR, like disaster recovery solutions, and also just overall modernization for environment. So I can give you like a brief example. It's like say if, a client is looking to or is hosting some 70 aging Windows Server VMs. You can move them to Azure in like a very short period, say like say 60 days, using the lift and shift approach. There's no application code changes that are needed. You just move as is. So the simplest way I like to think about this is like thinking about moving your furniture to a new house without buying anything new. It's the same furniture. You just moved it to a new environment. That is the whole aspect of rehosting. Second is refactoring. So refactoring is just making some small minor adjustments to improve compatibility or increase some level of performance that you're getting in the cloud. So refactoring is where you just make these small targeted changes to help your workloads run more cost efficiently and on the cloud services. So some typical examples that maybe you can think of is like moving some database from SQL Server to Azure SQL database, or adopting managed backups instead of using the manual hard drives or hard disks in your on-prem environment. You just adopt some managed backups that run automatically in your environment. So the applications, they stay largely the same, but the infrastructure becomes a bit modern. So this approach gives you better performance at a lower cost without major R&D and redevelopment in your environment. The third one actually, yes, is the re-architecture strategy. So re-architecture basically means you redesign some components and take advantage of the cloud native capabilities. So basically is whereby you have maybe some applications, they have outgrown the original design. They need better scalability, better performance, or even more resilience. So in these cases, we modernize the architecture by say using containers or leveraging PaaS databases, the product as a service. So this is where you're looking to unlock some level of innovation and agility. So the re-architecturing, it's quite a word. Re-architecturing is basically using the same analogy that you're using for the furniture, is like renovating your home. You're just breaking down some few walls, opening up some space, and just creating an overall better design for your long-term living in this particular house that we are thinking of. And then lastly is the rebuilding. So rebuilding is whereby we recreate the application from scratch. You start from the ground up and you're building this application using the modern cloud technologies. So rebuilding is usually quite rare, but when you do it, it's actually quite powerful. So it's basically used when you have some legacy applications that are maybe too slow, too expensive, or maybe too fragile to modernize them directly. So you're rebuilding using like some serverless function or some modern frameworks, something of the sort. So this approach delivers whereby you get some good amount of flexibility. You also do some future proofing of your apps because you redesign the thing from ground up. You also get some better performance in regards to what you get from the long term, and also in the long term, you also get long-term lower maintenance costs that you're incurring it yourself. So this is more like an investment, not a cost, whereby it pays off through innovation and also the customer experience that you'll be able to give to your end clients that are actually going to be using these particular systems. Yeah, so that is it on the 3 hours. Okay. Next, I wanted to take you through in regards to the real customer scenarios, just some quick success stories in regards to how the cloud migration can be measured, and it can also inspire some level of confidence and give you a feel of how the Azure migration can actually look like. So what we're going to take you through is just some generalized stories or use cases or customer journeys that we've actually experienced over the years. So the first scenario that maybe you're going to look at is whereby you do some on-prem workloads, you are migrating to Azure. It's like a VM migration, the lift and shift. So the first example is this on the manufacturing lift and shift. So this particular client was a manufacturing client. They were running some 50 plus aging Windows Server VMs that were struggling with some level of performance issues, and also increasing licensing cost. If you've actually encountered like these particular systems, you know how crazy the budgeting can get in terms of replacing the hardwares and also getting the up-to-date equipment for your organization. So we performed an Azure Migrate assessment. We prioritized some of these key workloads, the critical ones, and we executed a lift and shift of the Azure virtual machines. And the key takeaway from all this was the reduction in cost, the faster processing time. There was also like zero downtime in terms of migration. And all in all, we also introduced the backup and the DR function to the environment, which was automated as compared to what was running, which was the manual one. The second scenario, just a quick overview, is the financial service that we did the SQL Server modernization. That is the SQL Server to the Azure SQL managed instance. So this particular institution was running like SQL Server 2012, and it was actually reaching the end of support. So the performance was declining. There was a risk of compliance because compliance is actually quite critical. They were actually growing, and the need was there to do some changes in this particular environment. So what we did, we migrated them to Azure SQL Managed Instance, and the result that they got from this particular exercise, first of all, there was the auto patching. You didn't have to struggle with the patching, the built-in high availability. You also get the cost savings that come with it, and also the improved reporting performance. So the finance team was actually quite happy with this migration, and the IT team was actually happier. And when the audit was done for the organization, it was actually a success since they actually adhered to what was expected of them. And then lastly is in terms of another scenario is the VMware migration. So there have been a lot of changes in the VMware space. I think by now we've actually seen the changes that have come in terms of the licensing and everything in between. But just a quick one for this one. This particular organization wanted to move to the cloud, but didn't want to do a lot of refactoring because the main challenge was mostly the licensing aspect of it. So we used the Azure VMware solution to migrate these workloads with no re-architecturing that was required. So as a result, there were no code changes. The migration was actually quite fast, and the environment is actually quite scalable. So over the years and over the period, we've actually have had a chance to take the customers through this journey. And over the time, we've actually gotten a lot of life-changing or like organizational changing experiences that have helped improve the organization in the short term and also in the long run. So this tool that is the Azure Migrate actually facilitates this cloud journey. It doesn't have to start from a point of unknown. The point is you start from a point of knowledge. You get to understand what you have, and you create like a whole journey until we reach this particular point where we have these customer success stories. We've done the migration. We've actually onboarded you to the cloud, and you're also seeing results in the long run. So yeah, that is what I had in terms of the cloud Azure Migrate tool and how it actually affects and where it comes into play in the whole aspect of the cloud journey as well. For the next session, next presenter is going to take us through the CAF and the WAF, and she's our technical lead, that is Linogola, and I'm going to hand it over to her just to give us a brief on the same so that we can get an idea of what well-architected framework and also the cloud adoption framework looks like. So that was my session. Thanks for your time. Over to you, Gola.
Thanks for that, Peter. Okay, if you're able to to hear me and see my screen? Maybe you can react.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that presentation, Peter. So I'm going to take you through GOF and CAF. I'll try as much as possible not to be too much technical. Yeah, I'll explain it in more financial and the other term that everyone can understand. So if it comes to the stage where now we speak about success, obviously we do have some answer sheet or mark the whatever thing you're using to consider that this is a success. So when speaking about CAF, we will speak about our sorry. So we will speak about how CAF helps to ensure that uh, the customer adapts well to the cloud after migration and in the process of migration. So if CAF, you'll just hear the word CAF. So what basically CAF means, it's a cloud adoption framework. So what cloud adoption framework entails, so it's a seven pillar thing that we use to ensure that we have we can consider that now the journey to cloud is a success, and it's not just a project, it becomes a day-to-day modernization of the environment. So for CAP, we do have the 7 pillars, that is strategy, planning, ready, adopt, secure, and manage. So with this, the framework is not just a set of guidelines. It's a comprehensive, structured methodology that help customer or an organization to navigate the complexity of cloud. So with this transformation and these guidelines and the strategies that are in place, so it ensures that the customer builds or an organization builds up their confidence that wherever we are or wherever we are going, the cloud journey, there is less time to there's a lesser time for downtime, such things, so that our confidence is built as we move to the cloud. So by following these stages, the stages I'll repeat again. So we have the 7 pillars. So we do have strategy, planning, ready, you adopt, you govern, you secure, and you manage. So by following these stages, an organization can avoid uncoordinated cloud efforts instead of pursuing a disciplined journey that minimizes risk and maximizes value. So the core principle of a curve or curve of pillars is that it ensures that business outcomes are aligned. So every major decision, whether in terms of financial, uh, may it be architecture, operational, is tied directly to measure business objective. So for this, we ensure that the cloud initiative are not only technically led experience, but it's a strategy that we can ensure that are followed. So now, if we have to drive in terms of performance and effectiveness, so it ensures that in terms of planning and while doing our strategy, all the things that an organization considers, that is in terms of finances, we are able to estimate how much are we going to be how much is it going to cost us in cloud in terms of we can estimate in terms of planning. So we know we are going to start from this. Peter's spoken about assessment and Azure Migrate. So we start from this, we go to this, we go to this. Confidence is built by the customer and such things. Equally, it's important to, it also ensures that governance and compliance is kept in place. So when we see governance and compliance, so is our data okay and all that thing. So the next slide, I'll speak about landing zone. So this ensures that the policies that we have in place, we are not violating them, and we are to some percentage, you can compare our compliance level that we have put in place as an organization. So the organization, as an organization, you can move your critical workloads into the cloud. The need for guidelines that is covering the policy enforcement, security controls, have been regulatory obligations, all that is being kept in consideration. Having a system whereby an identity is well managed. All this is covered while planning and doing governing as a pillar of CAF. So CAF help to ensure that these guidelines are identified earlier. So by identifying and planning these things earlier, we are able to reduce the risk throughout the process of migrating to cloud. McQ cloud journey is not a one-time thing where you move all your system to the cloud. That's why we call it, it's a journey. It's not a one-time thing where you take all your VMs that are Go and move them to the cloud. No, it's a journey. You start with the less critical, then you go to the critical and all that. So finally, CAF also it promotes the optimization. So Peter has spoken about optimization in the other slide, so I'll just touch a little bit about that. So when it comes to optimization, so once our workloads are in the cloud, the journey does not stop there. So we start doing the optimization, covering cost, managing performance, tuning into the right sizes that we need, modernizing whatever workload we need, moving our workload from PaaS or moving our workload from IaaS, that is the infrastructure as a service, to PaaS. Instead, again, it also ensures that instead of the IT team focusing on managing the workloads, the team starts to think about how do we modernize, how do we bring the best out of this application. So instead of, for example, I will give an example whereby a VM or there's a power outage. So instead of the IT team focusing on how do we have a backup for this, or backup that is in terms of power backup for this machine, they start thinking about how do we modernize the workload to ensure that everything is 99% up all the time. So with that, we are able to ensure that this continuous involvement in the business continuity and technology. So CAF also turns, I had said that before, it turns the cloud adoption journey from a project into an ongoing practice, so that this fuels the long-term digitalization or modernization for an organization. So when it comes to landing zone, so the name is so interesting, and you hear about landing zone. So just as Peter gave an example with the moving into a new house. So before you move into a new house, there's what was there before, the foundation that gives you the confidence that I can go to the 10th floor without this building collapsing. So The same thing happens to cloud journey. So in cloud journey, we do have what is called the landing zone. So what exactly is a landing zone, and where does it come in through for us, and why is it important in moving to cloud, and where does it fit in terms of the whole migration journey? So landing zone, so this it's some kind of principles, some kinds of policies that ensure that we govern, we protect, we give a platform for where our workloads can run without us thinking about this policy. Can you check this policy manually? It's a set of policies that are put in place to ensure that everything is deployed with confidence in the cloud. So it integrates the essential components such as identity and access management. The network topology is also kept in place, security governance, we have security control, resource organizations, and monitoring. So all that, you don't have to do everything manually. The landing zone has that catered for you. So the platform, before we bring our workloads, there's something that lies at the base, that is the landing zone. So what is landing zone? So landing zone is all that policies that are put in place to ensure that our workloads that are sitting on it are well protected. So why is it important? So it gives an organization a well policy-driven starting point rather than a blank a blank slate whereby you just deploy everything everywhere. You don't know what you're violating. You don't know which policy is not kept in place. Yeah. So it's important to have a strong foundation. So we can, for that, we ensure that it's well designed. It's well-designed foundation to support its height and complexity. So depending on your workloads, remember what sits best for organization A might not be the best policy for organization B. So it's not like it's a strict defined thing, like it has to go this way, you define it the way you want. For example, we can have an organization that is more focused on we have an organization that most of its applications are in form of PaaS, platform as a service. And then we have those applications. We have this other organization that has infrastructure as a service. The two might, their pain point or their point where they make their focus might be different. So, for example, the organization B that runs most of its application running the VM, it has to ensure that, for example, the public IP is not exposed, such things, and etc. And for the ones that have platform as a service, for them, they have to look for a way to ensure that, because for them, public IP is not a big issue for them because it's passed as a service. So they have to ensure that maybe person A has the exact rights that they are needed for that platform, etc. So that's just an example. So landing zone, just to wrap up that, landing zone is just a platform or some collection of policies that an organization puts in place before they can bring their workloads to the cloud. Now, our workloads are already in cloud, and we are already in landing zone and everything. Yeah, it's so interesting to compare the cloud journey as building your own hours. So you have the landing zone and everything, but before you get to the landing zone, what architecture did you use? Because if you architecture in terms of building a house, it's easier to understand it than if you are now it's an architecture in cloud. It complicates everything. So in terms of having architecture, we have to do a proper planning. We have to decide what sits where. So that's where the architecture comes in. So in terms of having our architecture, so we have to plan. The door should be at this point, the window should be at this point, everything should be in between. There should be a pathway here. That's how cloud journey looks like. So when it comes to having your architecture, so in this part we are going to have to illustrate how several architecture scenarios fit for different organizations. So we have the simple VM migration. Remember the 5 Rs? Hope you remember. So we have the lift and shift, refactor, re-architecture, rebuild, and all that. So in this, we have this simple VM migration. And if you remember the 5 Rs, so this one is just for lift and shift, whereby most of the organizations actually, we do prefer we start with just a simple migration, whereby as it is on-prem, that's how we move it to the cloud. Then from there, now we start doing our modernization. So that's where database modernization comes in, re-architecture. So once you have moved your machines or your workload to the cloud, just the way they were on-prem. Now we'll start to redesign everything so that it can fit the performance, or we can improve the performance of your workloads in the cloud. So in that, so we migrate, so for example, this database modernization. So you migrate database to cloud. And then once it's there, now instead of having your workloads running infrastructure as a service, now you start improving to PaaS. So you start again now checking why is PaaS more important than having it running on a VM. How is it going to improve our scalability? How is it going to reduce a lot of activities that have been done by the IT team? So that we can have an improved system and all that. So when it comes now to the hybrid cloud with Azure Arc, so let me speak about Azure Arc. So when it comes to Azure Arc, so we do have situations whereby maybe compliance outside an organization in such a way that they can't move their workload directly to the cloud, or they have some legacy VMs that currently, if you move them to the cloud, they might not work as required. But they need security patching and all of that. So that's where the Azure Arc comes in. So it brings your all the cloud services to your on-prem without you migrating your services to the cloud. So to add on that, Azure Arc is free. So maybe we can explore into how to use the Azure Arc into environment. But you'll only be paying for the security patching and all the other add-ons that you will need for your on-prem machines. Now for application modernization, for this, we do have our organizations re-architecture their legacy application. So, for example, you can move your application from running in a VM. You put them maybe for them to run as a service, so that they can run your service. You can take advantage of Azure Kubernetes that are already in cloud. So they're already built in. So what you do, you just bring your workload into these platforms. So that's why they're called PaaS. So these platforms are built in and they're scalable. So they make the DevOps team integration quite easy, and they allow business to develop the agile way of working. So the cloud native application are capable of evolving with the market demand. So we have explored the benefit, how it is, how we have worked in till now. We start with architecturing, you plan all that. Yeah. So in case there's any question, kindly drop it in the chat so that I can pick it up. I'll pass the next presenter will be Leon. Leon, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Lynn, for the awesome presentation. So my name is Leon, technical support engineer at Cloud Productivity Solutions. So I'll be taking you through the security, compliance, and resilience when migrating to cloud. So let me just share my screen, or I think I can use, no, let me just share my screen. Then can begin. Just a second. Okay, so let me just that you can touch the face to the next. So we'll be talking about security and compliance, and also the resilience part of it when we are moving to it. As Lynn had mentioned, she mentioned about an analogy for a house. So when you are architecting using the cloud architecture, cloud adoption framework, she mentioned about the 5 R's, and also she mentioned about the analogy of a house. When building a house, you must begin from a structure. You must have a structure that will serve as the foundation for the building blocks of the house. And then if you relate that with the Azure Cloud Adoption Framework, that relates to things like policies, the governance that you have to put in place into the architecture before you move your resources to cloud. So that will make sure that once you move your resources, everything is well compliant, everything is well governed, and costs are optimized very well. So apart from that, we also have the security aspect. So it's not just about moving your workloads to the cloud. So once you move your workloads to the cloud, there's also that security aspect. You need to make sure that you have comprehensive monitoring. You need to make sure that you have comprehensive visibility across all your workloads, and you must have the correct configurations to make sure that everything is secure and is aligned with the different regulatory frameworks. So we'll just cover some of the security features that we can implement in the cloud adoption journey. So on this slide, we have actually 4 core capabilities that we can implement once we move our workloads to cloud. So one of the capabilities is the zero trust architecture. At the core of the Azure security, we have the zero trust. So it is a way or a framework of ensuring that all our workloads are aligned with the zero trust model. So the zero trust model ensures that things like access requests are verified explicitly, in that when someone is trying to access, let's say, your resource, be it a database, server, or a VM, the resource is verified explicitly by looking at things like the different signals, the different authentication contexts, and so on. There's also that part of zero trust for assuming breach mindset. So for a mature zero trust framework, the framework assumes breach in that it treats the network as hostile, and it assumes that it's already infected or attacked. So it puts in a lot of security controls to make sure that the network is safeguarded every time. So as you're moving your workloads to cloud, you'll also be ensuring that you adhere to this principle of assuming breach, in that you'll configure your virtual network securely, you'll configure your network security group securely, you'll configure things like the DDoS protection, that you can be protected from the DDoS attacks, and also the various encryption protocols. And also the last part of this zero trust architecture is the least privileged access. So you also need to ensure that all the identities, the users, the devices that are accessing your workloads that you have deployed on the cloud, they're accessing it in a way that is secure and in a way that is can be monitored. So for least privileged access, we have different tools that are built in that allow access in a least privileged way. So we have things like the just-in-time access. For just-in-time access, it makes sure that users or identities that are trying to access your workloads, be it VMs, be it containers, or be it the Azure container instances that are deployed, they access it in a secure way and in a least privileged way, in that when you access a resource, you access it only for a limited period of time where you need access. So it won't just leave you in the full access at all times. So when you want to access a resource, you must first, the access request must be approved. Then you'll access it only for the time period that is specified. Then apart from the zero trust architecture, we also have the second part of the security, which is the cloud monitoring. So under the cloud monitoring, we have a tool called Defender for Cloud. So for Defender for Cloud, you can view it as a cloud security posture management. So once you move your workloads to cloud, you need to make sure that the security posture is okay. And you also need to make sure that everything is continuously monitored. So what Defender for Cloud will do is that it will continuously monitor your environment for things like configuration changes, and it also ensure that you align with the different cloud security benchmarks, so that in case there are misconfigurations, you can always be alerted. In case of any recommendations, in case of any workloads that need remediation, you can always get that visibility. And also the second key part of Defender for Cloud is that it has a tool called Cloud Workload Protection, CWP, to make sure that all your workloads, be it containers, be it VMs, be it Azure Container Registry, be it databases, be it servers, they're all protected securely. Then the last thing is the Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. So you can view Defender for Cloud as a Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, in that it can be used to protect your applications that are stored on the different workloads securely from data breaches. And with this, it will ensure that you comply with the different regulations, such as the HIPAA, the GDPR, the PCI DSS, and all that. Then the third one is the global compliance and certifications. So after you have migrated your workloads to the cloud, there's also the issue of compliance, there's the issue of audits and all that. So with the compliance certifications, Azure is well backed with compliance certifications ranging from the ISO 27001 to PCI DSS, GDPR, SOC 1, SOC 2, all those certifications. So with that, it means that the platform is audit ready. So all your workloads will always be audit ready, in that when there's an audit and let's say the auditors want to check, let's say for the configurations that have been set, there are always built-in tools that you can use to reproduce reports to show or to demonstrate adherence to the industrial regulations or compliance. Then apart from that, we also have the backup and disaster recovery. So as part of the different security mechanisms, we also have the backup and disaster recovery. So if you migrate your services or workloads to the cloud, you also need to make sure that you offer resilience in terms of services. So there are times where you have critical services, let's say servers or databases that require high availability, high uptime. So you need a backup and disaster recovery plan to make sure that these workloads run with high availability. So in case one service fails, there's always a failover to the, let's say, a different cluster or a different server, which acts as like the backup. So this makes sure that in scenarios that, let's say, there are failures or in a server or something like that, you are able to maintain the what is called the RPO, the recovery point objectives, and the recovery time objectives. So this will make sure that you respond to disasters very fast. And it also, the backup and disaster recovery for Azure is also good in that, unlike the on-premise backup and disaster recovery scenarios, you don't have to maintain a data center. So this is fully managed by Azure. So this is it for security, compliance, and resilience. So I'll move on to the next, then we'll call it a day. On the next slide, actually talks about the cost optimization. How can you optimize costs? And just to finish, after you have moved your workloads to cloud, the cloud model is normally based on mostly pay as you go. So you normally pay for what you consume, and there are normally metrics that normally track how you consume the resources. So that is normally what is billed. So for cost optimization, it's normally really recommended because if the costs are not controlled, the cost can be too high, and the total cost of ownership may not make sense. So it is really important as you move workloads to the cloud to consider also the cost optimization aspect. You need to ensure that your costs are well managed and they are aligned with your budgets to make sure that you benefit long term and that you realize the return on investment from your initial investment in the cloud budget. So then there are also strategies and features to make sure that you can handle the cost optimization. So we have things like the optimization levers. So this has features like the automatic right sizing. So let's say you have VM or VM scale sets deployed on your cloud. You can use the right sizing in that when a VM, let's say, is consuming too much, let's say it's at peak. It's a server that is used, it's at peak. It can automatically right size to accommodate that resource. And if there's a low demand, it can also scale it down so that it can optimize that cost. And also we have things like the hybrid benefits and reserved instances that will give you that optimization in terms of costs. And we also have tools that also help you to calculate the cost estimations and projections. So one of the tools is the Azure calculator that will tell you that you can use to estimate the total cost of ownership by moving your workloads or resources to the cloud versus maintaining them on your on premises. Then the good thing with cost optimization is that it makes sure that your IT budgets are well aligned and that the migration of resources to the cloud is not too expensive, I can say. Yeah, so that's it for me. So I'll give it over to Peter to just wrap it off.
Thank you for that, Leon. I think you can just switch up. Okay. Let me just present on my end then. So just a quick overview in regards to what we've learned or what we've been taken through today. So I think the key take home in regards to the whole conversation in terms of the Azure Migrate journey and the assessment of it all is like the cloud transformation does not actually begin with a migration. It starts with visibility. And that is exactly the conversation we're having today. And we are trying to create like a visible way to help with the cloud transformation journey. And that's exactly what the Azure Migrate assessment gives you. It just gives you like an overview and a way to get some clarity, to improve your migration strategies. You see the various architectures, how they can come into play to your organization, and also the cost savings and the benefits in terms of security that you get. Now, the next step that we wanted for this particular activity was in regards to getting your attention in terms of doing a quick Azure Migrate assessment, whereby we'll be engaging you and our team, whereby we'll be getting like a complete, you'll be able to get a report from this Azure Migrate tool that will give you like a report of the entire environment, give you a cost analysis in regards to how the migration can look like on your end, give you a readiness scoring, that is how ready is the environment to be hosted in the cloud, or what are the steps needed if you are going to move to the cloud. That is the readiness scoring. Also the modernization recommendations. What are you currently hosting? What are the modernization steps that you can take? And also things like the key one actually is the migration roadmap that is giving you a start point to an end point in terms of your whole cloud journey, just to give you a way to monitor or to create a path for you as you're trying to get into the cloud migration journey. So as we are wrapping up, before I open it to the QA, in case you're actually interested in having this migration assessment done for your environment, you can always feel free to reach out. I think there will be an email shared from the marketing team after the session is done. So can always reach out, you can communicate, then we can organize the same. It doesn't have to be this time. I know we are quite in the festive season, things might be a bit slow, but it's actually a long-term project. So even in the future, as you're looking into having this discussion with your team, with your organization, with your key decision makers or upper management, and you need to create like it's like a narrative, a business case, or just an entire reason of why cloud is actually important, this Azure Migrate tool will come into play and actually assist in having such kind of conversations to give you that data-driven way of looking the cloud journey. Now, with all that being said, you can always feel free to reach out and we'll be able to assist. So for now, we'll be able to open the floor for a quick QA session. If any of the members in the session have some questions for the team, maybe there's a point that is not clear, there's some gray areas, or all in all, even we can take feedback. How was the presentation for you? Did you get to learn something? It's still very much open. So I think your mics should be able to unmute. Yeah. So in case of anything, you can just unmute and yeah, feel free. All right. So I think either the topic was too well understood or understood to some capacity. But all in all, thank you for your time and thank you for your patience. And that respect, we'll be sharing these PPT materials for you just to have a review. And in case of anything, you can always feel free to reach out via various channels, and we'll be able to assist. So thank you all for your time. Going to return to you your 10 minutes so that if you're starting your weekend now, happy weekend. And if you have that 1 hour, 10 minutes to brave, best of luck. So thank you and have a great day and weekend ahead.